Thanks for joining us. This week I'm talking road trips. So California is about road trips. So I guess today what I decided to do is kind of break it down a little bit. We're going to do kind of 2 key road trips, and then I'm going to share with you a new tool that we created and we've just kind of launched in the last couple of months, which we haven't really been talking about, all around road trips. So yeah, I'm going to jump in with a screen share. If you've got questions along the way, pop them in the chat box. I am more than happy to answer them as we go along, and I will be keeping an eye on them. Here we go, boom, California road trips. Hopefully everyone can see that. I've got a couple of videos to go, so hopefully they work. I know videos kind of can be hit and miss, but we'll see. We'll see how they play out. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about road trips with everyone. Hopefully some of you have done a California road trip. If you haven't done a California road trip, California is the ultimate fly drive or road trip destination. We think road trip sounds a little nicer than a fly drive. And it's all about, California as a state is all about getting out, exploring in state and checking all the amazing things we have to offer out. So just to kick through what I'm going to go through on this today, first up, we're going to look at Highway 1, the classic California fly drive. Most people know it. You probably all sell it. And this is just the classic one. So we're going to, we can't not talk about it. Next up, we're going to talk about the California Loop. And this is what I would class as my variation on the Highway 1 fly drive. So we'll talk about the California Loop. Then we're going to talk about the less traveled Highway 1. So we're going to go north, somewhere we don't really talk about, and it's definitely what I would call a little bit off the beaten track. And then I'm going to talk about the less traveled loop. So a bit of a theme going here. We've got 2 loops. You may or may not guess they're going north and south. And then finally, we're going to finish up with what I call inspiration of others. And this is where we're going to talk about our new tool that we've launched. And some of you may have seen this, but I'm sure a lot probably have not. But a new tool that we launched, and a new website that we've launched, and we'll kind of go through and I'll show you a bit about that, which has a whole kind of variation of different road trips for people to do and thematics. So let's dive straight in. First up in the video.
This is the California Road Trip Republic, and it's yours for the driving. Across this land of lost coasts and towering trees, majestic mountains and wild wonders, we boldly go forth, steering wheel in hand and a one-armed tan. Windows down and volume up. Yes, we rock while we roll, because buckled into a seatbelt is where we are most free. For this trip is not about rushing to get there, but rather the rush of being here. So if you share our eagerness to explore and ready to roam attitude, maybe you are born for the road. Come, raise the flag, sing your anthem, ride with us in the California Road Trip Republic.
I love that video. Every time I see that video, I absolutely love it. It just makes me want to get in a car and just start driving around California. And it showcases such amazing diversity of our state, what we can do, and I hope you really like that and get you excited as much as it does get me excited. But just to kick it off, straight out the gate, we're going to talk classic Highway 1. This is our kind of classic itinerary. And whoop, I've just totally jumped past. But this is our classic California road trip itinerary. So most people are gonna, especially if we're talking UK and Ireland, for those joining from Ireland, hello. San Francisco tends to be one of the key gateway points. We also have Los Angeles and San Diego. So the kind of classic Highway 1 is to fly into San Francisco and then head south. So head down a couple of nights in San Francisco, down to Monterey, a couple of nights in Monterey. And I always say Monterey is kind of the gateway to the California coast. And you've got Monterey or Santa Cruz in that area there. And then you're going to kind of make your way head down to San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, Huntington Beach, San Diego. So doing a true classic Highway 1. What we tend to find, a lot of people will do variations, and that's why I've created the next kind of iteration to this. What we're about to talk about is called the loop, and that's where we're going to loop ourselves back towards San Francisco, or loop ourselves back towards LA or San Diego, depending on our start point. What I love about a road trip, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's whatever your client wants or whatever you feel like doing if you're doing it. The reason most people tend to do San Francisco down, drive on the right side of the road in the US, or the wrong side, as we would say. But what it does is, coming down the coast gives you those unobstructed views. You're not looking across the traffic. So when you're coming down the coast, you're really getting a good view of the coastline. So San Francisco tends to be our start point, our gateway. San Francisco is a 2 or 3 night destination. You don't really need to spend much time in San Francisco than that. It's a nice, easy, walkable city. Most people know San Francisco pretty well, so I'm kind of skipping over it a little bit, and we're going to kind of crack on to more on the road trip. But as we kind of head south, you're going to head down towards Monterey. I always say kind of Monterey Bay. You've got Santa Cruz up on the north side of the bay, Monterey sitting down on the south side, or just south of Monterey, you've got Carmel. And they're kind of what I would class as the gateway. One thing to just point out though, San Jose does have a direct flight with British Airways, and is a great option for those that are looking to maybe not fly into San Francisco, maybe done San Francisco before but want to do the coast. San Jose can be a good gateway because you can get from there either overnight in San Francisco. San Jose is home of tech. It's Silicon Valley home, so there's plenty to do there from a Silicon Valley perspective. You can do tech tours, and you can visit places like Googleplex and the Facebook campus, the new Apple campus. Apple also does limited edition product / merchwear in their San Jose campus. So that I get asked that quite often. They do exclusive merch, and you can buy it from there only. So for some reason people love that. The number one question I do get though, if we're talking tech, is people want to see the Tesla factory, which is just outside of San Jose in Fremont. Unfortunately, Tesla is a closed factory. You can do tours, but you need to stump up the cash to buy a Tesla to be able to get a tour. That being said, a couple of times a year they do open it up to the general public on a raffle basis, so you can potentially get that, but there's no like system to that. So just anyone we're talking a little bit of tech tourism, that's just a little heads up on Tesla. For some reason, every time I do a consumer show, that's like one of the number one questions. I want to go to the Tesla factory. Anyway, so heading south, Monterey Bay. So I'm just going to jump straight on to my next slide. So this is what we call the gateway. This picture on your screen you'll see is the Bixby Bridge. The Bixby Bridge is quite an iconic bridge, I think. If anyone has seen Big Little Lies, the lovely HBO series with Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman, this bridge features in the opening credits all the time. That is all based in and around Monterey. It's actually filmed in Pasadena, fun fact, but in LA, but it's actually all the outside shots are all filmed up on the Monterey kind of Bay area. But so Monterey is kind of what we call our start point for our road trip. You've also got Carmel just south of it. Carmel is a beautiful little town too, really quaint, definitely worth checking out. And it's a little kind of artistic town. California, full of celebrities. Clint Eastwood was the mayor of the town. A lot of people know that. It's quite a widely known fact, but just a fun fact too, that Clint Eastwood was the mayor. We love our celebrities in politics, apparently. Arnold Schwarzenegger as the governor once. As we head down, and I think the real key on this road trip is all about the beauty. And as you can see from this picture, and this is absolutely one of my favorite pictures, just how like magnificent it looks just watching that coastline, and it doesn't get tiring as well. That that kind of, you're kind of weaving in and out of this along this coastline for about an hour, 2 hours as you're kind of coming down from San Francisco down through the Big Sur, and it's absolutely stunning. And there's some great little spots to stop on this drive on the way down. Also some iconic hotels. I can't not mention the Post Ranch Inn. If anyone sells luxury and knows Post Ranch Inn, it is just a fantastic property that sits on top of these cliffs. It's the only hotel on the stretch that sits actually on the cliffs overlooking the ocean. It's definitely, I mean, it's a 5-star hotel. It's a luxury hotel, but it's worth, if you've got clients that want to treat themselves, it's 100% well worth it. Just a little plug for Post Ranch. If anyone needs any information, I do look after Post Ranch as well for the UK, so you can side note me on that if you need any information, or if you'd love to learn all about Post Ranch exclusively, I can do that separately. But across the street from Post Ranch, you've also got Ventana, and Ventana's another great, fantastic hotel, also giving you some pretty iconic views. And again, another 5-star hotel, but good options for people that want to actually stay on the Big Sur. Otherwise, you tend to stay up in Monterey, and Monterey is going to be more your flag hotels, the Hilton, the Intercontinentals, your DoubleTrees, etc. Holiday Inn Express, you know, all the ones. However, and then Carmel tends to be a little bit more boutiquey. It's going to be a little bit more boutiquey, so really good. And then, yeah, as we head south through the Big Sur, as we come down through the Big Sur, we're just going to see some good little stop points along the way for clients too. And some of my favorite places to stop, Midway Falls in Julia Burns Pfeiffer State Park. It's where you're going to find Midway Falls as a waterfall down onto the beach. The little pull-off spots just along there, and you can go, and there's a little hike which you can take down onto the beach. Only takes 20-30 minutes, and you can hike down onto the beach to get a real kind of up close view of the waterfall. Otherwise, there's a nice viewing gallery on the top as well. But I think, like, doing this drive, it's all about, people do this drive for a reason. It's probably our most popular drive for a reason. It's because of the scenery. It's just so spectacular. But what I love about it is it's changing as well. It changes the whole way down. So what you can see here is the kind of the big jagged kind of cliff falling into the ocean. The further south we get, we move into the rolling hills, and that's what's really nice about this. When we get down into the lower part of the central coast, we're going to move into towns like Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, and the landscape changes again. When you come down here, we come into real wine country. Actually, it's really famous for their Pinot Noir wines, and it's because of the cool climate that they get in this region. Gets nice cool off the ocean, very similar to Sonoma. Actually, they tend to be famous for their kind of Chardonnays and their Pinot Noirs, the lighter wines, and it's because of that coastal climate. Some really fun other stops to do when you get at what I call the lower part of the Central Coast. You've got Hearst Castle. Highly recommend Hearst Castle. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Hearst Castle tomorrow in my Hidden Gems session, but Hearst Castle is just absolutely fantastic place to stop. It's a state park, belongs to the real estate, the newspaper mogul, William Randolph Hearst from Hearst Publishing, still around today. Hearst family still own the property, but they donated it to the California State Parks, which they run to go up and do tours there. Just a fantastic little stop point along the way. Probably one of the things that people want to know most is when we're doing this road trip, how much time do we need in each destination? So San Francisco, I always say 2 to 3 nights. Monterey, it's a 1 or 2 nights. Same as in the Big Sur, it's a 1 or 2 nights. Then you need to come down to San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara. So San Francisco down to Monterey Bay area is going to be about 3 hours. Again, it's always difficult because that traffic through the tech world can get a little tricky at times. But general rule of thumb, about 3.5 hours. Monterey down to San Luis Obispo, we're going to look at maybe around about 4 or 5 hours. Again, it's up to you depending on or up to the clients. Do they want to stop along the way? Do they want to just continue just kind of hustling all the way down, maybe just do a stop? Usually I say 4 or 5 hours, and that includes a couple little stops. 6 hours probably if you've done Hearst Castle as well, because Hearst Castle is probably about a good hour and a half, 2 hour. By the time you do the tour and see the film and everything at the visitor center, etc. So it's a nice day. I tend to say take off out of Monterey in the morning and then just cruise the day down. I tend to say head for San Luis Obispo. Once you get to what I would call that we call it SoCal. So SoCal, when you hit SoCal, it's just easier to say rather than saying San Luis Obispo all the time. But SoCal is got a couple of different regions. Most people know Pismo Beach. You've also got Paso Robles, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about Paso Robles again tomorrow and some fun stuff that you can do there. Paso's all about wine. Pismo's on the beach, so it's all about the beach. And then from SLO down to Santa Barbara, you're about a 2.5 hour drive. Here you're starting to kind of cut in and out of the coast, but again, like I said, the scenery's changed, so we're going into all the more rolling hills and plenty of vineyards. Still get a nice coastal views, but it's very different to what you would have seen up on the Big Sur, and that's what I think people love about this drive so much. Santa Barbara is what we would call the American Riviera. It's very south of France-esque, our take on it. As you can see here from this picture, you can see the red tiled roofs and the really kind of Spanish colonial architecture, and it sits up on some hills. Santa Barbara is for everyone, everything from your like classic 3-star, Best Western Pepper Tree Inn, the Harbor View Inn hotels right down on the water, everything up to your super luxury hotels. Rosewood just opened a new hotel there. We've got the new Hotel California. There's a Four Seasons of Ritz-Carlton. So we have kind of the full spectrum. If you're looking for something for more higher end clients, that's a little bit exclusive. The San Ysidro Ranch is another property that I highly recommend, and it's again very private, only about 30 rooms, very similar Post Ranch, very private, tends to only you're only allowed to kind of eat and drink there if you're staying on property, so they try to keep that quite private, but that's what's nice about this area. Just gives you a spectrum for everyone. If you decide you don't want to do SLO, maybe you've done SLO before, you could do Monterey straight to Santa Barbara. Again, it's a big day, but it's definitely worth it. The other thing I should have mentioned in Pismo has sand dunes, and the sand dunes are quite a fun day out, a fun activity to do too. You can actually rent dune buggies. You just need a driving license. But down on the Oceano Beach, you can rent dune buggies at a place just down there and then take them out and explore the sand dunes. And it's quite a lot of fun to do that. And it's really bizarre because you don't feel like you're in California. Feel like you're kind of almost Middle East-esque, huge sand dunes. That being said, the ocean is just on the other side of them, so maybe it's not so Middle Easty, but it's all good. But yeah, that's kind of that kind of crux bit of the Central Coast. From Santa Barbara, just about 40 minutes south, you've also got the town of Ventura. Ventura is something that is another really cool surfy town, definitely surf laid back, surf vibe, home of Patagonia, out where they kind of birthed out of Ventura, but it is also the gateway to the Channel Islands. So for those wanting to tick national parks off their list, Channel Islands sits just off the coast, and it's a great place to go. Another thing I should say, whale watching is a really good spot here in Santa Barbara. I prefer personally Santa Barbara or Newport Beach. We'll talk about Newport in a bit. But I prefer those as the best whale watching areas. The reason being, Santa Barbara specifically, because you've got the Channel Islands, what happens is while the whales are migrating, they tend to come between the ocean, the kind of the coastline and the Channel Islands. So they kind of sit in the middle. So you've got a better chance of seeing whales in that kind of little spread there versus say Monterey. You still see them in Monterey, absolutely, they come close, but I tend to find you get a better success rate out of Santa Barbara, just my personal experience. Yeah, so that's kind of our Central Coast in a bit. Again, I'm going to kind of scooch through LA, but one thing I tend to recommend when people are doing this road trip is people tend to they've come down the coast, they come to LA, and a lot of people will tend to choose to stay in Santa Monica. Santa Monica is a fantastic neighborhood and it's great, but I tend to recommend to use this as an opportunity to come inland and maybe stay a place like West Hollywood as an alternative. The reason being, you've just spent the last kind of 5 or 6 days on the coast, so why not kind of come in? You can still go out to the beach, but maybe go in, do something a little bit more urban, kind of breaks up the journey a little bit. So that's my little tip there for you. Is why I recommend West Hollywood as a good base there. Again, great spectrum of accommodation options, everything from the Best Westerns all the way up to the new 5-star hotels that just opened the addition in West Hollywood. It's also got amazing views over the city. And I've said this before on a West Hollywood chat, it's a great celeb spot. People love celeb spotting. Actually, another thing that's really good, and it's a good base for people that want to do Universal Studios as well. It sits on the other side of the canyon. And I'd never really thought about that until I was having a conversation with Universal last week, and they're like, oh, West Hollywood's a great place to base yourself. And I think that's what's quite nice as well about LA. LA is so big, but a lot of people want to do Hollywood. They want to do Universal. They want to do Rodeo Drive, etc. That's why I tend to recommend West Hollywood as a base. Personally, where I prefer to stay. That being said, I do love Santa Monica. It's a great place to stay. And, if you want more beach time, you want to maximize the beach time, I would say absolutely stay there. No harm. Continuing on our road trip south on Highway 1 down to Orange County. So we come back to the coast, and that's another reason why I recommend inland for LA. Downtown even is a great option, and then come back out to the coast for some more beach time. Again, we've got Huntington Beach. If you want to stay beachfront, great value for money for beachfront properties, and really great for families. Also a good alternative to staying in Anaheim for if you're wanting to do Disneyland. Huntington makes a great, or Newport Beach, but Huntington's great for family, so it creates a really good for that family road trip. If you're a bit more upmarket, I'd definitely recommend Newport Beach. Going to have a lot nicer accommodation, and it tends to be more 5-star accommodation. Huntington tends to be more 4-star accommodation. And then obviously we head all the way south, and we're in San Diego. Again, lovely seeing we've got direct flights in and out from the UK. Hopefully, we'll see when all the schedules go back. But sounds like we should be still good. San Francisco, LA, and San Diego. San Jose is great key cities here. Again, San Diego, a great place. What's nice is, fly into one open jaw, fly out of another. Creates a really nice coastal road trip. And that is my classic Highway 1 road trip. Tends to be what most people do. Timing is up to the clients. I tend to say no less than 7 days. Anything less than 7 days is a rush. I've done it in 4 days, and it was just a lot of driving, and it felt really area. Yes, great question, Sarah. I'm skimming over San Diego. San Diego is another great city, and depending on the clients, depends on where's best to put them. So if you're a family, I would tend to say stay in the Mission Bay area. You're going to be close to SeaWorld. I know people have strong feelings towards that, but they're a great partner of ours. But that whole area, Mission Beach, Pacific Beach, and that kind of Mission Bay, where SeaWorld is a great place. There's plenty of good family hotels there, Catamaran, Bahia, etc. In that area. If you're couples or people that want a little bit more nightlife, then I would tend to stay downtown around the Gaslamp, and there's some great hotels down there as well. Everything from, the 5-star hotels like the Pendry, the US Grant, all the way down to your Marriott's, your Best Westerns. We've also got the Hotel del Coronado, again, just more, you would say there from an iconic point of view, and that's on the Coronado Island, which is across the Coronado Bridge, and that is a great second little spot to stay. More traditional, and then you've also got the Old Town. Old Town's going to give you that real kind of Spanish colonial feel. It's where the settlers kind of came up from from Mexico, so it gives a really good, the best Mexican food in Old Town, hands down my favorite, and definitely worth a visit. Another fun thing in San Diego, I always recommend the trolley tour. Those that have probably done a FAM to San Diego probably done the trolley tour. I love doing the trolley tour when we get people into San Diego, mainly because it gives you a good spread of the city. And then if you're want something that's a bit more boutique-y, then head up to La Jolla. And La Jolla is going to be more kind of art. It's a bit like Carmel. It's going to be a little bit more artsy, definitely a little bit more couples esque. I would tend to recommend having a car, yes, in San Diego. You can use the trolleys, kind of hop on, hop off. It will get you to all the key places. It'll take you to Coronado, it'll take you to Gaslamp, take you down to Seaport Village, it'll take you to Balboa Park, where the zoo is and all the museums. It will take you to Old Town. It actually technically starts and finishes in Old Town. So you could use the trolley to get around, but it's really good for maybe like if a day decide I don't want the car, you could do that. I guess if you wanted to get further afield, then you're going to need to drive. But San Diego is a really easy city. I always say it's a 20-minute city. Everything takes 20 minutes. Pretty quick and easy to get around. Hope we got everything on San Diego. So we've done the coast, and you can see that kind of drive there. I tend to say if you're going all the way down to San Diego, I'd tend to say you'd need at least 10 nights, but 10 to 14 nights is great. What tends to happen though on our California road trips is people will get to Los Angeles, they tend to miss the south bit, and then they do what I call the loop. And so the loop is where I've highlighted some stars here, and we're going to have a little bit of a chat about some of my stars. But we have Las Vegas. We're not actually going to talk about Las Vegas because it is what it is. It is the city in the desert, and is I would kind of refer it sometimes as an unofficial California gateway. That sits in Nevada, so I don't need to talk about them. But we've got Palm Springs, great alternative kind of out for your rest and relaxation. We've got Yosemite, Mammoth Lakes, and Lake Tahoe. The reason why I call it the loop is a lot of people will fly into San Francisco, they'll kind of head down to Los Angeles, out to Vegas, and then come back to San Francisco, thus creating my loop. Let's have a little bit of chat about that. So first up, we just pop straight out to Palm Springs. Palm Springs is a great little area. It's actually 9 cities. Palm Springs is the main city, but it is 9 cities sat along the valley. It is our kind of flop and drop. That is where you go, sit by a pool, sit in a lazy river, just have a lot of fun, just relax and almost take a holiday from your holiday, take some chill out time from your trip, and it is a nice place where you can chill. It's all about chilling. If you love golf, you'll love Palm Springs. Over 127 golf courses to play, so you'll never play the same course twice. And it's surrounded by the mountains. It's got some amazing hiking. You've got Joshua Tree National Park just outside, and it also, for those that love architecture, is home to lots of postmodern, that kind of mid-century modern and like brutalist style architecture out in the desert there, and a cool region. It's really fun. It's tends to be popular with couples, but if you've got a family, some great resort hotels there that you can just enjoy and just leave the kids to it while you relax. Popping up. So if we take, now we're kind of heading, so if we're coming from Vegas, I tend to say this is the thing that happens. Come out of Vegas, you come through Death Valley. You can stay in Death Valley, but there's very, very limited accommodation in Death Valley. There's only kind of 2 major hotels there, 2 or 3 major hotels there, a couple of campsites. It's very hot in the summer. So what we tend to find, people come, especially in the summer months, come out of Vegas super early in the morning, come through Death Valley. It's absolutely stunning Death Valley, and it's definitely worth a visit. And then you'll kind of, as a shortcut through Death Valley, then come onto Highway 395. We have actually 2 scenic byways in California. Highway 395 is the other, Highway 1 being the one that everyone knows. Highway 395 is the other, kind of runs up what I would call the spine of California, the backbone of California. And so Mammoth Lake sits in there. Vegas, most people are aiming for Yosemite, but I always drop Mammoth Lakes in here because Mammoth is just that little bit more manageable drive. So from Vegas through Death Valley and then stop in Mammoth, you're going to be there literally probably, it's going to take about 6 or 7 hours. Mammoth Lakes to the valley floor in Yosemite is about a 2-hour drive, depending, hour and a half, 2 hours, depends on traffic, etc. Also, you're going to be pushing in there at night, so it just tends to be better to use Mammoth as your base. It just doesn't, you just don't feel so exhausted when you get there. But Mammoth is just absolutely beautiful. So it sits on the backside of Yosemite. Again, winter time, it's a ski resort, but in summer, when most of the clients are going to be coming through, Mammoth is absolutely amazing summer. It's called Mammoth Lakes because it's made up of lakes. We call it the Lakes Basin. You can paddleboard on those lakes. You can swim in those lakes. We've got hot springs. The actual mountain Mammoth is a dormant volcano, so it has a lot of hot springs that just you can go out and explore. Some secret ones, some more public ones. But it's definitely worth checking out. And the drive is just stunning. Again, like it's the scenery, the way it changes when you come out of Vegas and you're kind of in the desert and you come through Death Valley, which is just looks like you're not even you look like you're on a different planet. And then you kind of all of a sudden come out of that, and then you come into this kind of high alpine, lots of trees, as you can see by this picture, snow-capped mountains, really awe-inspiring. The scenery on that day is just pretty spectacular. Mammoth is, again, it's a 1 or 2 nights. You could use Mammoth as a base for Yosemite if you wish, and that's why I kind of say it's a good little spot on the loop. But ultimately, most people want to go into Yosemite. If you're staying in Mammoth, you can hop on the Yacht Yosemite area transit system, which will take you in and out from Mammoth, in and out to the valley floor. But what we tend to recommend, most people want to see Yosemite, they want to get in, get done, so it's a good option to go in. And so that's why I like to reference Mammoth. It's a good stop out of Vegas, chill. I'd spend a day exploring and then kind of continue on into arguably one of the most iconic national parks in the US, not just California. Obviously, Yosemite, super busy in the summer. So my number one tips for Yosemite have always been to pre-book. So Yosemite is connected by the Highway 39, the Tioga Pass. Tioga Pass is my best and worst friend at times. So Tioga Pass actually goes up to about 10,000 feet. So in the winter time, it gets fully snowed over, so that road closes. So whilst it always looks quicker to kind of get cut through to Vegas, if you're cutting through from San Francisco, or you just cut through Yosemite on the back, you'll go down past Mammoth, easy done. In the winter months, that's just not possible. You have to drive up to Tahoe and come all the way around. It's just, it's not, unless you really want that trip, it tends to just be quite a long trip. But the 395 in summer is just beautiful. So it tends to open around May time. So it's currently just opened. Not that that helps anyone right now, but it will hopefully in a couple of months' time. And then it will stay open till about October, November. Again, it's all weather dependent. We don't know whatever the storm cycles and whatever the snow decides to do. But it tends to stay open till kind of around mid to end of October, early November. Best time for Yosemite. People go to Yosemite for the waterfalls and the hiking. Best time though is going to be on the shoulder season. So April, May. May is what I would probably say is optimal time for Yosemite. The waterfalls are absolutely at their best. September, October is also a really nice time. The waterfalls aren't as good, but the park definitely gets quieter. One thing we can say about Yosemite, it gets super busy in the summer, super busy. So that's why I always say pre-book, always pre-book. It is a popular national park. There are going to be some restrictions, obviously, with our current climate with COVID-19. For those that might be going off, possibly got clients still going, we don't know, in August or September. There is a way that they're doing it, and I'm probably going to do a dedicated Yosemite chat in the next week or two to explain the openings. I'm just trying to get more information. If you've got lodging booked in the car, it'll be fine to go to Yosemite. If people are wanting to go for a day trip, it's going to be limited access. But I'm happy to talk to anyone that might have clients going in the next couple of months, hopefully, So feel free to drop me a note. I can follow up with my details as well to everyone for that. The other thing I use is Mariposa. It's a great option if the valley floor is sold out. Obviously, being a national park, there's a lot of limited accommodation there. So it is a good alternative. From Yosemite, you've done Vegas, Mammoth, Yosemite, you tend to clear cut it straight back to San Francisco to get your flight home. And that kind of completes the loop. If you've that loop, we tend to say would be a good 14 days. So in the San Francisco, down the coast to LA, out to Vegas, back up to Yosemite, and then back to San Francisco. It tends to be a good 14-day trip. Trying to cram it in 10, again, is going to be, it's a lot of driving. So I tend to say 14 days is kind of, optimal time for that. If you've got even more time, then I do recommend a little trek up to Lake Tahoe. You can add that on. You could do that as an add-on. You could base in Mammoth, do Yosemite from Mammoth, and then continue between Mammoth and Tahoe. It's about a 2-hour drive. It's absolutely, it's actually one of my favorite drives in the world. Is that drive. It's just that section of road is, again, spectacular. Just the way the scenery changes. You'll be on flat plains, and then you'll be in windy mountains, and then you'll be in, kind of going through a range of different scenery. It's such a beautiful, but obviously then we come into Lake Tahoe, and I've talked already on Lake Tahoe. I'll do more chat on Lake Tahoe probably next month in July. I'm going to do a bit more of an in-depth into Tahoe just to understand it, because I think it's a little complicated to distinguish sometimes between the north and the south. So I kind of wanted to, these webinars have been good because I've been able to like work out what I can really kind of get under the skin of. I think Tahoe is one of those places, but again, winter it's ski resorts, but summer it's all about the lake, and the lake is beautiful. You can jet ski, you can water ski, you can swim, paddleboard, dive, fish. It's got everything. So the lake is full of activities. That kind of links me with my kind of standard California road trip. I'm going to do a little bit of a run up north. We're going to kind of shoot through that. Easiest way to do that, I'm going to show a couple of videos along the way, but my northern road trip, or the less traveled Highway 1, as I would call it, again, we use San Francisco as our crux, as our start point, and we head north. North is really underrated, and that's why I call it the less traveled Highway 1, or undiscovered. But undiscovered sounds like no one goes there. I was kind of wrestling with that this week. I feel like well traveled is kind of less traveled is kind of more apt for that. So again, I've done this, and so I've called it the loop. As you can see, it's a loop on my screen here. So in San Francisco, I'm going to head north. The nice thing about this drive heading north, you're going to go straight over the Golden Gate Bridge. It's really cool driving over the Golden Gate. If you've cycled over or been over it, it's just really cool. I love going over the Golden Gate Bridge. So I use my first stop as Sonoma, but what we're going to look at is coastal Sonoma. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about coastal Sonoma as well tomorrow when I do my hidden gems. I'm going to talk Tomales Bay, Timber Cove, Bodega Bay. My colleague Emma, she's going to probably join me tomorrow to chat hidden gems, and she's quite familiar. She loves the area, and so I can pick her brain a little bit more. She's discovered it a lot more than I have. But from Sonoma County, from that kind of area, then we're going to keep continuing heading north on Highway 1. Mendocino tends to be next stop point. Again, Mendocino really cool. Up to Eureka. You go to Eureka because that's where your Redwoods National Park is. You could keep going up to Crescent City, but we tend to find Eureka a little bit more going on. And then from there, my loop cuts into Shasta, down to Sacramento, through Napa, back to San Francisco. So coastal Sonoma, here's some shots of the Sonoma coast. Again, as you can see, it's just so spectacular from this picture here. It's just really beautiful. This is the Bodega Bay. So you're about an hour north of San Francisco, and you're out on this coast, and it's absolutely spectacular. It's just so stunning, this coastline. And obviously Sonoma famous with wine. I talk a bit about wine on the way back, but the coast is just really beautiful. Again, it's just a nice place. And again, it's a night or two in this area before you continue heading north. Here's a little video of Mendocino for those that don't know. It's quite undiscovered, and I actually don't talk about it very often when I do training. So I thought I'd just pop a little video here. So that kind of gave you a bit of an overview. It's beautiful. You got Glass Beach, where the rocks that have been washed up look like shards of glass. So it is spectacular. They've also got the Skunk Train, which is an old kind of rail train that you can hop on there through Mendocino. Mendocino is just really cool. It's definitely people that want to get off the beaten track, and actually probably in our future climate, it's going to be a really potentially a bit more of a popular route, because you can still hit that California coast, but get away from all the traffic that you get on that classic Central Coast, that San Francisco, LA kind of section. Once we get up to Eureka, Eureka, the big draw up here is Redwoods National Park, and it is stunning. It's where you'll find General Sherman. You'll find all the massive trees, the big redwood trees that are native to California. It is just the national park of giants, as I like to call it as well. And it's just really just nature beauty on the coast. I really like this picture here, and that is just with the ocean, off the ocean mist coming through, and you can just see it's just absolutely stunning. It's beautiful up there. That whole area is quite undiscovered, and for those that have been up there and seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It's just that it's quite hard sometimes to describe it. It's just quite spectacular to look at and just take in. Tends to be more boutique style accommodation versus your kind of luxury or your big chain hotels. It tends to be a lot more boutique, which is quite nice as we go up through that region as well. If you keep going north of Eureka, you come to Crescent City as well. Crescent City is kind of the last major town, and there's little kind of harbors there as well, so little kind of inlets with lighthouses, and absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful ocean views there. People are quite friendly too, so for those like myself from London, you get a little bit taken back. You're like, oh, why is the guy talking to me while I'm looking in this shop? Or person, but they're all quite friendly up in that area there, and they love to engage in conversation for sure. From there, that kind of concludes my kind of like Highway 1. If anyone's actually, I don't know if I said this on a previous one, but anyone that wants to kind of get a little bit more under the skin, there is a Netflix show at the moment that is called Virgin River. That's all based in this kind of area here, Crescent City, Eureka, that kind of area there, which is definitely what it's a bit of a hallmark. It's a bit of a hallmark show, but it's quite fun to watch. Season 2's apparently coming out very soon, but if you haven't seen that, it's always worth a bit of a watch. Next, we're going to go into Shasta. Shasta is, just again, a beautiful town. We kind of talked about that a couple of weeks ago in our Northern California, but you've got Lassen, Lake Shasta, Mount Shasta, plenty of stuff to do there. It's a really, again, fun, off the beaten track. Actually, one thing I haven't said on this is drive time. So San Francisco, Sonoma Coast area, you're looking an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on where you're going to stay along that coast. From there up to Mendocino, you're looking at probably about another 2 or 3 hours, and then you're looking probably about 4 hours Mendocino up to Crescent City. So it's quite a big coast. Not really doable in a day to go all the way to the top, but I tend to recommend you could do San Francisco, Mendocino, do some, and that's quite nice. quite a nice day as well. A couple of days in and around Mendocino. Some great wine in Northern California as well. Some really cool wine regions. Again, really famous for their Pinot Noir and their Chardonnays up there. But there, and then heading from Eureka or Crescent City inland to Shasta, you're looking about 4 hours. The roads are a little windy through there, and they're not big kind of motorways, so they're just takes a little bit longer, but you don't see a lot of traffic per se, unless it's farm traffic. And then Shasta, you're going to come down to Sacramento, which is, I've got my slides out of order, apologies. But yeah, so Sacramento is a good little kind of stop point on your way coming back north to San Francisco, Sacramento being the state capital. I love this picture of the Golden Bridge, which connects over the Sacramento River. Just in front, you can see the city skyline behind that. That little black building is actually the California office. So we sit when we're in Sacramento for our meetings. But yeah, quite a fun little city, great for food, and a good couple of night or two stop. And then we finish in wine country. Sacramento down to wine country is only an hour and a half. And then you're in Napa. You've got Sonoma as well. If you want to do Sonoma wine, you could do Sonoma Coast and Sonoma wine, or you could do Napa wine. I tend to do Sonoma up, Napa on the way back. That's my recommendation. Again, we talked Napa before, so just kind of scooching through it. But yeah, just as an alternative road trip for people that maybe want to do something in California that they haven't done, a little bit more off the beaten track. And that's what I love about California. You can continue to come back again and again. I talked about our kind of new website. So we launched a website, and it's visitcalifornia.com/roadtripsuk. It's the UK site. Again, I can follow this up and can send any of this information out should you need. But our road trip website is relatively new for us. So we kind of launched at back end of last year. Haven't really been talking too much about it. That was kind of this year's role, but obviously she's taken a sideways turn for us all. But this is a great tool for some inspiration, and this is where we get a lot. So I've talked Highway 1 Classic, our kind of classic, but we have so many fun little road trip ideas here. So Volcanoes to See is a Northern California one, quite similar to the one I did from Shasta down to San Francisco, but we've got, through the California heartlands, going through some of the more off the beaten track areas as well, through the middle of California that people tend to miss. Very busy with domestic and local traffic, but from an international, everyone tends to like that coast, but the inland is the farming and rural communities there, but some really good food. And then we've got some variations like Slow Up to Ragged Point, which is just north of Hearst Castle. And we've just got some stuff that we've kind of created. This is stuff that we've kind of curated that's a little bit more off the beaten track. And that's what's really fun about this website, is that you can kind of come and just get some inspiration. And that's why I kind of say it's quite good. Kind of our road trip site. I'll send the link for our road trip site. But kind of looks like this from us here. And then, so yeah, there's plenty of stuff that you can explore there. Love when tech works. Again, trips by your category. We're going to look at some family trips. Let's look at, I love architecture, so let's look at architectural gems here. And then this is going to take us on a little kind of 3 to 5 day trip. Again, we've got some maps here, which you can see that kind of takes you in, and all the different places that you can kind of go and see. The Stoll House, really cool in West Hollywood, is a kind of minimalistic house. You can book your tickets, etc., all of that here. But it's a nice, just a nice little way that you can, see that. I will follow up shortly, everyone, with a link for this so you can all go in and play for that. But does anyone have any questions? Anyone can use this website too, Denise. So, this is kind of a public consumer-facing website, but it's great use for the trade as well. It's just something that's really nice to help with inspiration sometimes, and especially if you're going maybe somewhere that's a little bit off the beaten track that you're not necessarily sure where or what to do. This can give you some really fun little things that you can do there. So this one kind of takes you through Pasadena. You know, this is kind of LA centric, and then it pops where have we popped down to? San Bernardino area. And we're going to talk about, again, Palm Springs, and then we're going to kind of make our way all the way down. But yeah, again, there's plenty of stuff. I like how the map moves as well as you go. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions, start shouting them out at me now. So Pam, Lassen is definitely worth a visit. It's a really cool place. I've been there twice. I kind of say 1.5 times. I was there, I say half because I rocked up, bought the entry park to get into the park. We drove up to the bubbling tar pits, then it decided to snow and we had to get out. We were staying the other side of the path, so we had to get out of there quick, smart. So we saw a world tour, but then I went back and took a bit of a walk through there. Actually just last year, I spent a little bit of time up in that region with our California Dream Eater. For anyone that wants some food inspiration, the California website is good for that. But yeah, so I definitely recommend that Lassen. But if anyone else has got any other questions, feel free to shout. Otherwise, yes, you can use the videos that we showed. What I'll do is I'm gonna follow up with some links and stuff. I'll link you. Our YouTube site is probably the best Visit California YouTube site. And Donna, for the Northern Loop, I would tend to recommend 10 to 14 days, again, depending on how long you want to, how long your clients have got. And it is really different. Thanks, Kathleen. There, it is really a really different trip in there. Tomorrow I'm going to go, but I'm going to be back again tomorrow. It's going to be a little bit more probably conversational, not just me chatting. So definitely, if you've got questions tomorrow on areas, but what we're going to cover. So my colleague Emma, who does all our PR, is going to join me tomorrow, hopefully, and we're going to chat about hidden gems in California, and that's going to be more kind of like attractions or like things to do and see versus destinations. So worth popping back. We're going to be covering stuff all over the state, so we'll cover everything from some of our fun bits in Palm Springs or the kind of deserts region. We'll talk a little bit about some of my favorite areas through the mountain regions, coast, etc. We might even brush on celeb spotting. That tends to be a question. Just basically been compiling a lot of questions that people ask, and so we'll share some of our fun insider tips along the way. So that's tomorrow. It's going to be a bit more webinar kind of conversational versus that than educational. But yeah, hope everyone's had a fun day. Sorry I've just like rushed the end. I could talk about this all day, but I hope everyone's had a great day. Enjoy, and we'll catch you tomorrow where we chat California again. See you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.